Okay, all good. Sorry for that. In today's session, we'll discuss about S3. So S3 is one of the oldest service what AWS has been providing to us. So if you see S3, you can call it as a big family member, right? So all the services will come and depend on S3. Say for example, you have VPC, right, which we have discussed. So VPC or EC2 we have discussed, or CloudWatch logs we have discussed, right? So if you see here, many of the services are depending on S3. So they rely on one or the other way. So S3 is bit important in terms of certificate exams also. You will get little more questions in S3, and S3 is not a small topic, but and also it is not a difficult topic. By the way you practice, right, the AWS, then you will get familiarized with all the options whatever is available with S3. Okay, now today we will discuss about S3, and if time permits we will also see what are the other services that we are working with. Okay, come on. Yeah, so if you see here, if you ask me how S3 is related and it is dependent with VPC, right? So under VPC, if you select our August 1st batch VPC, so flow logs is there. So flow logs is the option. So if you click on create flow log, so it will monitor all the traffic which is coming inside the virtual private cloud, and also it will monitor the traffic which is going outside the private cloud. So you can check here the filters, and you can enable these options. These are self-explanatory. You can get into them. Then you need to create a log group. If you see yesterday, we have seen the log groups in CloudWatch logs, right? Like that, you can create a log group. For now, let me push on a test log group. And IAM role, either you can select or you can do this one. I will cover up when we are discussing about IAM roles and users. So then log format, if you want in any custom format, you need to write your regular expression here. So in what type of expression you need, what are the, the parameters that you're looking for. Yeah, I'm recording the session. Yeah. So there are different type of parameters what you generate in the log, like account ID you get. Say for example, you want your log right, say in this format. So you want your account ID. Beside that account ID, you want your VPC ID. Beside that, you want your subnet ID, and beside that, you want your security group ID. So then you need the actual log, what is happening. Like this, if you want a specific log format, then you can use this custom format. Otherwise, you can use the AWS default format. So for now, let us select default format, and let's give logs. So here, destination here, if you want to send the logs to CloudWatch, you need to select this one. But if you want to send to S3 bucket, select this one. And you need to give the bucket ARN. So if you ask me what is bucket ARN, so in S3 is something similar to Google Drive, right? So many of us are familiar in our day-to-day life. We are using Google Drive. So in Google Drive, we call everything as a folders and files. Here, bucket is nothing but similar to a folder, which is the head for everything. Now, say for example, let us create a new bucket. Let's give the name as VPC logs. S3. So VPC logs, August 1st VPC name. So let's not worry about these options. I will explain again when we are creating. Yeah. So once you create your bucket, right? So your bucket will be uniquely identified with a ARN. So this is your bucket ARN. You can copy the bucket ARN and you can view it here. So if you click here, so this is your ARN. So copy this bucket ARN and you can provide it here. So that you are telling you need to save this flow logs to S3 bucket, and this is the target ARN which you need to push out here. Okay, and let's give logs.
So this is like an identifier, Harish?
Yeah. No, so it's yeah, unique identifier for your S3 bucket.
Okay.
So you will not have the same name across the Amazon. So for example, if you wanted to give an example like when you're getting bucket, so example, sorry, see, bucket name already exists.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but if you see example is not there in my bucket list. So this bucket name whatever you are giving will be the across Amazon, so you
So
need
it
to
has
give
to be unique.
unique, yeah. Bucket name should be unique, as well as ARN is nothing but it will be in the AWS S3 service, and it will be your bucket name.
Sure. Thank you.
So once you create this flow log, right, now if you operate any things, right, say for example subnets is there, you can activate the flow logs in subnet level as well. So if you select any subnet, you can come here and we can activate the flow logs in subnet level. Okay, so let us launch a EC2 mission so that some logs will be generated. Mm. Now you can see in S3, if you are using this one, the logs will be automatically pushed here. It will automatically create a date, time, and what type of folder structure will be by default. It will be created. Let us spin up an instance, and so security group. So when you try to connect, right, so the traffic from the external internet is going to your EC2 machine, which is sitting in a VPC, right? So there should be some flow logs which will be generated. So let us see whether that flow logs is saved in S3 bucket or not. Okay. Yeah. So just go to your S3 bucket, refresh here, and go to your VPC logs. Oh, mm, oh, come on. Let's check the configuration. Sometimes it takes time, even though the flow logs is reported, it will be not shown. So strange. Okay, let me check the bucket permissions. Uh, Mm, okay, let us try for the subnet. I'm not sure why it's not working. VPC.
Harish, you have created that flow log within that VPC, right?
Yeah.
And then, in the S3 bucket, you have that, how it's linked.
We have given the bucket ARN right, Namita. So
Okay.
if,
Um,
if you go to the
okay.
VPC logs here and sorry, VPC bucket ARN. So permissions is also enabled. Yeah. Okay, log delivery. So this is internal S3 log delivery. It's not about that. Now let's check for subnets. We'll see. Let's enable for subnet one. Yeah, the flow log would be by default because we have given incomplete VPC, right? It will be applicable for all the three subnets: subnet one, subnet two, and subnet three. Under this, for all even the security groups, whatever the behavior is done should be monitored. I think the refreshment period would be there. Or yeah, aggregation interval is 10 minutes. That's the reason. So okay, let's leave it like this, and we'll refresh it after some time. So the logs should be aggregated there. Yeah. Or let's create one more flow log, and now let's say all traffic 1 minute aggregation time S3 bucket name VPC logs, copy bucket ARM, provide it here. So AWS format. Okay, now let's see after a minute. I have accepted all traffic, and I have given now the aggregation period as 1 minute. Now let's see whether the logs will be pulled here. Yeah, if you see here, AWS logs is there. Under that, you have a folder. Now let me access something. So the retention period is 1 minute, right? So let's wait for 1 more minute, and we can do that. So that's how. See, if you take any service, even EC2, right? The snapshots what you take will be stored in EC2, but you cannot view those snapshots. You can use the API and access those snapshots from S3 bucket. But the way earlier we were able to view with API, but now even I tried that API with old documentation, it didn't work. So you cannot see snapshots physically here, but as per the document and what AWS says is all your EC2 snapshots will be stored in S3. But physically you cannot see here. But if you want to see snapshots, you need to go to EC2 console and you need to verify here only. Whatever the snapshot you see here, that is the snapshots whichever available for you. Okay. Um, so yeah. So that's how S3 is dependent on every service in one or the other way will be dependent on S3, and S3 is also the cheapest storage what they're providing, and it is very secure. Now here we need to so in under S3 there are different type of things, right? So let me open my lab notes. So yeah, so for example we have EFS. So till now we have seen two types of storages. One is EBS, right, which is elastic block store, and we have seen how this works, and we have seen instance store also. So Can I ask what is instance store?
Probably the store which comes along with the instance.
Yeah, along with the
Temp
instance, and it is a temporary store, right? Which we have
temporary,
discussed.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is a temporary one, and in the EBS we have seen, and this EBS will be allocated from SAN or NAS, storage storage area network and network area storage. So they call this one. So our EBS memory will be allocated from this area. So these are the two types of memory which we have seen. Now there is one more called elastic file system. So this is something which is similar to shared drive, right? So okay, so in Windows we have shared drive, right? So in our office we share like 10 dot and we'll give some share folder, right? Like share folder. So like this will give the path. Similarly for Linux we have an EFS storage. So this storage will be again from network area storage only, and it is it can be accessible directly. You can just mount. So for EBS, what we have done, we have followed some sequence of 5-6 steps to mount the disk. First, you need to partition the disk. Then you need to make file extension with extension 3 version. Then you need to create a folder. Then you need to mount that folder. Then you need to save that in FS tab. So those are the steps which when you are adding the additional one, right? But in EFS, it's not just you can create a folder and mount the folder and you can use it. That's EFS, and the other services are FSX is similar to EFS. EFS is for Linux machine. FSX is for Windows machine. So this even I have not never get an opportunity to use, but it is straightforward. You can create FSX. Then once you access the Windows EC2 machine, right? In that you can be able to access this FSX with the endpoint. Then S3 Glacier. Glacier is nothing but archive data. Okay, any old data which you don't want to use or don't want to check very frequently or regularly, that data will be pushed to Glacier. We will see how configuring Glacier is a, and we'll check how the Glacier will work, because Glacier is bit important and many people will use now. Many companies are using. So for example, you have a bank, right? So all your statements or your this one will be available only for 24 months from your net banking. If you want to go for last 5 years or 10 years of bank statements and all, will be not available immediately until you go and give a specific request to the bank. They work with their IT department and they get the data and they give, because those data is not a very important data, but still it is required. So that's why we keep it in Glacier storage. And why this many storage types are available, right? So because S3 pricing model is bit tricky, and you need to understand how S3 pricing model works, as well as these two are having specific purposes. So for example, EFS file system means, say for example, you are having a Linux EC2 machine here. For this EC2 machine, like say for example, 3 machines you have. So for 3 missions you have, and we have discussed about network interfaces, right? So you will create only one EFS system, one elastic file system. This file system can be connected with the different network interfaces IDs. So, so only one storage area, and this can be shared across multiple EC2 missions. This is how EFS works. Similarly, this is for Windows. FSX will work. When it is coming to Glacier, right? So Glacier can be any data. It might be the data which will come to S3. After in S3 again, there are some internal models like standard storage and multi-available storage, like that. Different types of storages are there. After moving some retention period of 30 days or 60 days or 90 days based on your requirement, you will be moving the data to Glacier. Again, Glacier also is automatic data, which will be after you can give some time. Say for example, 3650. So this 3650 days, if you give, after 10 years, this data will be moved to this data will be moved to deleted, or it can be moved to for another things. So that is the use of S3 Glacier. And the storage gateway is a service which will allow you to transfer your data which you have in your on-prem data to your S3 bucket, or from S3 to your on-prem. On-prem is nothing but from your VPC you have some application. Now you need to push it through S3. For that purpose, you'll use this storage gateway. And AWS backup is, we have seen the snapshots backup, right? Similarly, AWS will take the backup of all the data, what you can see. So we will see Glacier and AWS backup by configuring. Remaining three are self-explanatory. You can, if you have time, so if you need to practice, you need to do. Otherwise, you can just read theory and just be familiar with this service, what the services will do. In this session, we'll discuss about S3. Questions? Okay. So S3 is, as I told, right, it is similar to Gmail. So S3, but you need to create a bucket. So inside bucket, then you will have all your files and folders. Let me open any existing bucket. So for example, this is my bucket. So I have a folder here, database, and I have folder here, load. Okay. So inside the folder, I have multiple files here. So one file can be up to 5 TB max. Okay. The file size of a single file can be up to 5 TB. I'm telling again. So the file size would be 5 TB. This is file size. I'm not telling about folder size. Bucket size is unlimited. You can do whatever you want. You can store how much ever you want. But one single file can be max up to 5 TB. So the let me go. Yeah. So buckets you will have. Under buckets you can either create files or you can create folders like that. So under buckets, again, if you see, there are different options like properties, permissions, managements, and access points. Let's discuss one by one in detail. So before that, let's create our own bucket for this class. So I will just create a bucket. August 1st. Yes, 3 bucket. Okay. So you need to provide a bucket name. And if you see here, let me cancel this one. Uh, for any EC2 or VPC, whenever you select those services, right, you will be seeing the location here. So our location, which is our region is Ohio region. But if you see, when we selected Amazon S3 service, why it is not showing Ohio? Because S3 is a global service. Okay, it is not region specific. But when you select bucket, right, you can see the region here. So bucket is a region specific. Uh, are you clear with this differentiations? So your Amazon S3 service is a global service. Can you name any other global service in AWS which you know? IAM, we have not discussed IAM. IAM is the best example for global service. When it is coming through to S3, S3 is global service, but the buckets what you created, you need to select the region under which region you need to create your buckets. Clear? Okay, so let's give our name August 1st S3 bucket, and you need to select region. You can create in any region. I can create in Mumbai region as well. So right now I'll leave it to default to Ohio region. And so for example, you already created a bucket with some settings, right? If you want, if you're getting the another bucket with same set of settings, you can copy from this option, select which bucket you want to replicate, and you can do that. Right now, let's create a blank bucket with blank permissions. Okay. So next is versioning. So we will have a different discussion about versioning when we are looking after creating the bucket as well. So this is like you say, for example, if you enable this one, right? So whenever you change any files or folders, right, it will automatically create a version of that particular file, and it will keep it. It will be saved. So all of a sudden, if you are missing those files, or if you are deleted without your knowledge, then you can regain using this versioning system. It is similar to our Git, but it is automated. Okay, and this server accessing access logging means, so whatever the requests which are coming to you, so those log requests will be created, these logs. Like if you are accessing your website will generate the log, right? Access log or error log. Similar to that, when you are accessing your bucket, those logs will be generated. Tags, self-explanatory. S3. Okay. This we will discuss later, and I will. So CloudWatch request metrics means, so if you are enabling this one, so whatever the actions or the metrics what you are doing here, this will be pushed to CloudWatch. But there are additional costs associated for this one. So you can basically they will enable server level logs. So in that you can have everything. So it's not necessary again to monitor this metrics. Okay. So if you see here now permissions is there. So we will see about bucket permissions in detail. For now, just these are self-explanatory options. Like remove your if you remove this one, means anyone can access your bucket. If you keep it here, now no one will be able to access from public. Or if you want to enable option by option, you can see here. So through bucket policies on the objects will be granted through network ACLs, or block public access to granted through access of ALCS. So all these are different options. When you say when you keep everything as blocked, no one will be able to access your bucket from external network. So only your account will be able to access those bucket. So if you remove here, then they will warn you saying that disabling block all this option, and it is visible to public access is visible, and security AWS is not responsible for that. Okay, so let me enable those to public now. So and let's create the bucket now. Okay, now your bucket is created. So as I told, right, your bucket will be uniquely identified with the ARN. Availability resource name, I guess. I couldn't recollect what is the full form of ARN. And so these are high details about the bucket which you created. Now once you click on the bucket, right, so you will be inside this bucket. So either now you can create your folders, you can add your files, whatever you want, you can do it here, and you will have options. All these are like Google Drive. How the Google Drive is self-explanatory, so this is also a similar way it will work after creating the bucket. But once you are in S3 storage, first if you want to store some files or folders, you need to create a bucket, and under that particular this bucket will be related to a particular region. So under that particular bucket you can keep all your files and folders. Clear? Now if you want to upload any files, right, so for example you can click here upload, and
Hey, wait.
sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Amazon ARN means Amazon resource names. Okay, and add files. So when you click on add files, you can select any particular file here. So for example, in I'm uploading our lab notes. So then right click, and here you can tell who is the owner. The owner is this particular account ID, and do you want to give these permissions for this or not. So if you give only read, you will have only read permissions. If you provide read and write, you will have both the permissions. And if you want to provide access for this particular file to another account, right, you can click on add account here and do that. Yeah, here so these details will talk after some time. I'll just skip this one right now. I'll select standard. Yeah, so if you see here, now we have uploaded labnotes.txt. So like this is the way you can upload your file to a bucket, or also you can create a new folder. Under that folder you can upload. So if you see here, under the bucket you have properties. Under properties you have different type of options here. So versioning, as I told, if you are editing the file, right, every file edit and save into bucket will have a version, so that whenever your files may be deleted accidentally, can be recovered. If you can, otherwise you can, if you suspend, once you deleted the files, it can may not be regained. And the server access logging we have discussed, and this is static web hosting, right? So so for example, you want to host a HTML website which is not required to access complex databases, and you don't have any other Java code or Python code in the background, which is a simple HTML static website. So I have downloaded one here. So this is the which after extracting, this is a sample web page website. So if you let me open in local and show you. So when I access this index.html, a default website is loaded. Okay, this is my static website. Suppose if I want to host this one, now I no need to take a EC2 server. Then for that EC2 server, I no need to create a security groups, add the details, and a lot of things will be there, right? I need to install Nginx server inside that EC2. Instead of doing all those things, you can just upload your static website to your S3 bucket. Let me go to. So you can upload your static website to this bucket, and you can use provide what is the loading page and what is the error page, and you can use this as your website. So this is your endpoint. With this endpoint, you can use that. Okay, and let me show you that. We have some time. So AWS batch 3. Let me click on upload. So I will give read-write permissions. I'll just click standard one, upload. Yeah, if you see here, now my web portal is getting uploaded here. Once all my uploading is done, now I can make, now since if it is in my local, only I will be able to access this, right? So when I open this index.html, sorry. Only I was able to access this one. So now if I put in static web hosting, and if I share the endpoint, everyone, even it is accessible towards the web. I mean, for the public, anyone can access that. But with a very simple costing, you can simply host your website using S3. Yeah, the upload is done. The index.html is our start page. Let us go to properties, static web hosting, and use this bucket as a web hosting, and index.html. For error also I'll give the same page. Now if you save this one, copy this endpoint before that. I'm putting this in chat box. So, okay. So once if I save, then immediately I will be not able to access this host. Why? Because I need to give permissions for this bucket to be public. So if you go and see here, now my permissions is not public. So in order to enable public access, right, we need to go under permissions. Yeah, let's discuss about permissions. Here you have four options. One is block public access. In a high level one, this will be even though if you enable this one, you will have access control list. Under access control list, you need to check what, say, access control list and bucket policy both will do the same purpose. This and this will have same purpose. It means who can see your file and who can pull your file. So this is what giving the permissions is what the job of this both bucket policy and access control list. But access control list will have minimum I mean minimum options, like either he can only read, he can only write, or he read and write. But when it is for only few things, whereas in terms of bucket policy, each and every file level, minute level also you can control this bucket policy. But here you need to write your JSON file as per your specification and paste into the bucket policies. Okay. So if you see here, everyone, and if you click on list objects, write objects, read bucket permission, write bucket permission. So most of the people will not use this access control list. They will go and use the bucket policy. Okay. Now your ARN is here, right? So this is your ARN for this bucket. Now let us say sample bucket read policy S3. So if you see here, there are some examples. So if you want to write to bucket, right? Grant permissions to multiple accounts to add means put object means something which is to insert. And if you say get object means something which is getting out from that bucket. Now let us copy this one. So I'll put it here. So if you see here, this is a JSON format. So here SID is public read. Effect is either you need to allow or disallow. And principal means here you can declare the services. I'm just giving star so that all the files will be there inside that bucket. Action means what action you're going to do. You want to give only the read only access, right? And sorry, principal means for everyone. It is for all the public. Otherwise, you can give here IP/CID ranges or only specific IP addresses also you can give here. And action is get action, and resource ARN is we need to give our bucket resource ARN, which is nothing but this one. And slash star will tell anything in that bucket. Okay, so if you want to give only to one folder, so for example if you want to give access only to CSS folder, then you can give CSS slash star, so only CSS folder can be accessed inside that particular bucket. So copy this bucket policy and you paste it here, and when you save you should be able to see this is now, if you see here, this is enabled as public. Now anyone can be able to access this using from public network, sorry, public, yeah, public access network. So if you feel this, if it is, see now it is simple, right? We are just giving for a bucket read access for entire public. But if you want to put some rules, conditions, everything, then you can use this policy generator, and using this policy generator you can do that one. Now this policy generator is not only for S3, there are other services like SQS policies, VPC endpoint policy. During our endpoint, I told there is some bucket policy, right? Sorry, there is some endpoint permissions policy, that is this one. And during the IIM, you will be using the most. Okay, now let us select S3 bucket policy, and either you want to allow or deny. Effect, let's keep allow. Principal, I'll keep a star. And actions, here you can see what are the actions which S3 will allow, right? So either if you want to do put action, if you want to write to bucket, you need to enable put bucket policy. If you want to get action, get object, yes, put object, yeah, put object is the one. So these are the other policies which are there, and you can give your ARN, bucket ARN. And you can give some conditions also. If ARN is equal to this, or means you can apply for multiple buckets like that. Let me not provide any. If you click on add statement, now this is your policy. Okay, and for this, if you click on generate policy, you will get automatic code here. So this you will be able to copy paste and use it. Okay, so this is the easiest way to generate policy. If you're not sure about, even I'm not sure about all the options, services what here we are seeing. So if you see here the action, this many actions, I never use this many actions. I just give read write access and I will be working with that. So if you project is having a specific requirement, then using this policy generator, you can do this particular JSON policies. Clear? Okay. So now since we have given a read access for this particular August 1st AWS batch bucket uh, for public, complete all for everyone, right? So if it is not public, right, then you will be not able to get this one. If you are allowed in a private subnet, you will not get this orange color public denotion. Okay, now you can go and check whatever are the ping right in the chart. You can check that the website will be available for everyone. Can someone access and let me know if you are able to access that website?
Could you please ping again? Harish, I couldn't see the message.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Can you try accessing this link? So now this is a simple static HTML code, right? This code I have kept in bucket and I have just enabled static web hosting option here. And using this option, I have told what is my launch page. My launch page is index HTML inside the bucket. Or if you're keeping any inside particular folder, right? So you can give like, say, for example, under this education slash index.html like this. But now my index is HTML is directly inside the bucket. Okay, just then you can give your error page path here and save this one. Then you need to enable the public access for this bucket. So anyone able to access this one?
Yeah,
Yes,
I can
Harish.
access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is how it's see now we no need any EC2 server, no need of Ninja server or Tomcat or whatever it is. So it's a simple bucket you enabled for the public, and this is the way you can host a static website. And next is object level logging. So yesterday we have discussed about CloudTrail, right? So if you want to see whoever is logging inside this bucket, I mean accessing the files inside the bucket, or reading or writing, for that level you'll enable this option. So this will be directly, first you need to create trail, cloud under cloud trail you need to create a trail, and then you need to provide the trail here. Okay. So this is just for audit purpose, whoever is using that. And the default encryption. So see, most of the things, either it might be in security breaches or exceptions, will happen because of the inside only. So we are external, so we can control external traffic, whatever is coming to our bucket. Let's assume this is our bucket. We can control the external traffic, who should come and who should be able to access. Similarly, we will control for whom we should give the data. So this thing is there using the security groups or network ACLs. Like this, we will have many options to do this one. But what happens if AWS only steals your data? You are keeping inside AWS data center. Inside the data center, you have a VPC. Inside VPC, you have a S3, right? So I mean EC2 or S3, whatever the service is. AWS data center guys will have access to this hardware, right? What about if they steal the data from the data center? So you cannot control that. You cannot see that, right? Whether they're stolen or not also. That's the reason you have some encryption techniques and encryption methodologies. So here KMS is there, key management services. If possible, I'll try to take a class on this session on this one. So using some encryption methodologies, we will be able to encrypt this bucket only based on that encryption conditions. Whoever is able to access this particular bucket, they will be having the access. So that's the option for this one. Suppose if you are giving KMS, then you need to put a key, generate a key and put that key for here, and then you can be accessing that. Tried creating. Okay, let's see this in KMS when we are discussing about key management services. Any questions till here?
questions, Anish?
Yeah. So if you see here advanced settings, object lock means while creating bucket, right, you will get a object lock. So after creating bucket, you cannot enable this object lock. So if you see here, object lock can be enabled only when you're creating a bucket. Let's go to S3. uh, so go to next. Here you will have object advanced settings. Yeah, bucket versioning to be enabled. Yeah, enabled. Okay, this is not versioning. Yeah. So what is the need for this one is, so this is the way you can enable your object lock. So what is the need for this one is, say for example, if you there are some critical files, very, very important files inside your bucket. Let's say, in our August 1st batch. So the CSS is very important to us, right? If you delete the CSS, our web page will be not this attractive. Only the plain HTML code, what is there, that will be showcased here. So now there are, if you are giving access for entire public, right? Anyone can log into this account and they can go and delete this particular CSS folder. Then you need to debug why the CSS is not getting loaded. Then again, it is a rework for you. So you can use this option, this object lock option, and you can make this one not to be deleted by anyone. So that's the that is the main use for this object lock. So what happened to um, which was our bucket? Oh, sorry, this one. Yeah, go to properties. So you clear why object lock is used. So you can lock out some particular files or folders so that they cannot be deleted, or they cannot be removed from any other users. Tags, usual one which we are working. And transfer acceleration means I never use this one, but this is used to enable the faster, in order to upload the data in a faster manner. Say for example, you have 40 TB, right? So it will take too much of time to upload. Now just for 200 KB or 300 KB, it took around 4 or 5 seconds, right? Similarly, if you have 40 TB of data which is needs to be stored in S3, then it will take too time. That's the reason this transfer acceleration will be used. So they will speed up your upload process. And events, you can enable your monitor event notifications, check if any files are added or removed, and you will be understanding better when you are discussing about SNS topics. Like say for example, we already discussed about SNS, right? Like yesterday, how to create an event and create a subscription for that. And so whenever you add a notification, let's say uh, someone is writing to this bucket, put means, so that time you need to get a notification. So if you select the SNS topic, yesterday we had a topic, memory SNS topic, like that you can create topics. So if someone is writing to this one, then you will get notifications. This is mainly used whenever some teams will deploy, right? Earlier in 2016, when I was working, right, that time my team has configured here, my dev team has configured this option. Whenever they keep an war file inside the bucket, right? We were using S3 to store all the war files. So whenever they store war file, we were enabling this event, and our QA file will be notified. So then QA will go and do the deployment, and they will be doing the testing. So that is one of the use case which we used. And requester pace means here, so you can configure who will be paying your amount. Say for example, S3, let's understand S3 billing here, how S3 billing will be done. S3 billing. So in AWS, right, S3, if you see here, whatever you store for S3, it is free of cost. Okay. So, yeah, first 50 TB, whatever you store, this is the cost per GB. General purpose storage for any type of data typically used to, okay, this is for general purpose. And there, if you remember, I skipped the options while uploading a file. I have skipped some options, right? So those options are after, because if we see this building and then if we discuss, you will understand in better way. Okay. So first 50 TB, for every GB, it is the cost of this one. So this is your storage cost. Okay. And if you go down, access cost will be there here, data transfer cost. Yeah. If you see here, whatever the data you transfer through S3 from internet, uh, it is free. You can transfer how much ever data you want. So for example, you keep 100 GB also. So it is free to keep in S3. But while retrieving this data to access from S3, this is the cost. Up to 1 GB per month, it is free. And if you are retrieving anything below 10 TB, right? 10 TB per month, for every GB, this is the cost. Okay. So for example, if you are using 100 GB, 100 into 0.009. So this would be your cost, which is approximately $9 per GB per month for 100 GB. So are you clear with this one? So from internet, if you want to keep some data inside S3, right, it is free. They don't charge you anything. But while you are retrieving the data from S3, this is the cost for every first 10 TB. If your data is less than 10 TB, they will charge you like this $0.09 per GB when you are retrieving the data. But once you cross 40 TB, right, then 42nd TB or 43rd TB, then your cost will be changed. So this is your cost. So that's how S3 will charge you. And two things you need to understand here is uh, SLA, what AWS is providing to their customers. It is 99.99 availability time. So this is what they promise. So that is the reason how they are promising this one, how they are providing this particular this one. First, you need to understand what is this 99.99, right? So 99.99 means, so let's go to Google. High availability. Okay. Yeah. Think yeah. If you see here, 99.99 means 4 nines will come. These 3 nines, these 4 nines. Okay. So this 99.99 means in a year, downtime per year, it will be only 52.6 minutes. Means for the entire 366 days, S3, suppose if you are keeping some data, right? So for example, you are keeping a file. If you are trying to access, if the availability zone where you kept is gone down, they will see your file they will not keep only one copy, they will keep in multiple copies. That's the reason they're providing this much accuracy. So there, so when you have in a different copies, this is the SLA. What they're SLA means service level agreement. So this is what the customers tell. So in a year, at max, you will get 52.60 minutes. In my AWS experience, I never seen S3 has gone down. So because the reason is, so whenever you store a file, they'll be storing in multiple areas. So we'll discuss that in the options when we are seeing that. And this is the file availability. Okay, when it is coming to durability, uh, this so 99 point, sorry, point 99 here. Okay, this is the durability what they're providing. So this one 9 nines is the durability what they're providing. So means in a year the downtime would be, sorry, not this, not something like downtime. The durability is something like your file storage. So for example, if you're storing some 10,000 files, of in 10,000 years there might be a chance of losing one file, partial file, that too not complete file, partial file. That is the durability. See, availability, durability, you try to understand the basic difference. Availability means, so for example you have a bank account, so you want to access your bank. So for example, I have Standard Chartered Bank. Okay, if I log into net banking, if my net banking is down, it doesn't mean that my account balance is vanished there, right? So after some time, when they fix this net banking, again I can access and I can see my account balance. So for example, 30 rupees. So this is availability. The internet site is down, and once it is bank, when it is coming to durability, your account balance is reduced. So for example, your account, you are able to access through net banking. Inside your account, your balance will be reduced. That's the difference between durability and availability. So when they are giving the SLA of 9 nines, means it might be like 10, if you are keeping 10,000 files in 10,000 years, 10,000 years means it's too much of time, you might have a chance of losing file. So they definitely it would be 100%, but they are giving the durability like this one. So how they are achieving this good durability, right? So let me open Paint. Yeah. So whenever you upload, so we are in Ohio region, right? So for example, in Ohio region, there are three availability zones: Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. So for example, whenever you are uploading one file to S3 bucket, right? This is your file. So this copy will be done here and here. So for example, if you are taking North Virginia, right, there are 6 availability zones in North Virginia. So at least minimum of 3 copies they will manage, or 2 copies they will manage. So even though if one availability zone is down, they will provide S3 access to another availability zone. Otherwise, on another action. That's the reason they're providing that much high SLA timelines. Uh, let me show you that here. Yeah. Let me upload one sample file. So if you see here now, after read write permissions, so you have a storage class designed for, and availability zones is there, minimum data storage is there, right? So if you see here, standard, which whenever I select standard, so since we are in Ohio region, the bucket is in Ohio region. So at max, they will be managing this file in greater than or equal to 3 availability zones. So it might be in 3 or more than 3 minimum. If you are selecting standard 1A, right? Sorry, zone 1, one zone 1A means they will keep your file in one availability zone for sure, and maybe more than that. So what type of data so even you need to understand your data, what type of data you need to keep and what option you need to sell. So this option would be completely depend on the data what you are going to store here. So for example, you're frequently accessing the data, right? All your source code of your application, then you can keep in standard SA. And long lived data changing access pattern. Okay, so if your data, if you're accessing monthly once like that, then you can use these both options, standard A and this one. So both will have the same, they will be stored more than 3 availability zones. Or you are accessing very infrequently, so then you can keep in one availability zone, but your data is not that important, because here they are going to store in only one availability zone. If the availability zone is down, you need to wait until this availability zone is up to access your data. So if you're not having that critical data, and if you're not using very frequently, then you can use this one zone 1A. Okay. And glacier, Glacier is something like archive, right? Say for example, your marriage photos. So you will not access your marriage photos every year, yeah, right? So like that you will archive. Or best example is your bank transaction data. So they will have an SLA like 10 years you need to store your data. After 10 years you can discard that. So for example, you are doing your transaction today, you are depositing 10,000 rupees. This transaction data, you already deposit 10,000. There is nothing, you cannot go and modify to 9,000 or something like that, right? All this data is already done. So this data, they will push it back to Glacier within 30 days. So in Glacier, it will be there for, if you give 3650 like this, some conditions are there. If you give that condition, after this particular 3650 means, days means 10 years, right? After 10 years, the data will be permanently deleted from Glacier. Then Glacier deep archive means so Glacier, you can put the data and you can immediately pull the data from Glacier. Deep archive means you can put the data, but if you want to archive, they will give you some timelines. Minimum you need to wait for 4 hours or 1 to 2 days, like that they will give you time. The otherwise there you have fast data retrieval services like fast data, I guess. So using that services, you need to pay and retrieve the data because it will take some time to retrieve those old data. So these are the different options of storage types. So again, this again it will depends on the building, how what type of building, what you are selecting. Based on that, the building will be there. Okay. So questions here. So
Harish,
yeah,
have a doubt here. Like, for example, if I store some 10 GB of data in S3,
yeah.
so will the data will be moved automatically to Glacier
Mm,
after a particular amount of time,
no, no,
or how?
it will be not moved automatically. I just told an example. If you want to move automatically, still there is some time. We will need to discuss these options. Okay.
Okay.
So S3 it will take
Okay.
around 2 hours to discuss. So under management we have life cycle. Using this life cycle we can do all those things. So we will
And one
discuss.
more question is towards object locking. That when we are creating a bucket, right, we
Mm.
can object lock. We can keep that condition, right?
See, object locking, what is the use case? You should not modify your files of your old versions or the current versions, right? Further, first you need to enable versioning. So if you are really working on such critical things, yes, you need to enable your object logging. If your data is not that critical, then you can remove that one.
Like my question is, once that object locking is enabled, we can push the data right to the buckets and all.
See, without enabling object also you can push the data, but you cannot log the objects. So for example,
Yeah.
yeah. So for example, we uploaded static.html, right? So we have multiple folders, CSS folders we have, and JavaScript folders we have, and HTML files we have. So if you want to object log the CSS folder, then you already created bucket and push this one. Now you cannot log this one. So you need to create a new bucket, copy this data which is there inside this one. While creating bucket, you need to enable the object locking. Okay.
Yes, I mean to say my question is like the object log is enabled, we can
Mm-hmm.
update the data, right? But
Yeah,
not be
yeah.
deleted.
See, you can update the data, but you cannot delete the data.
Okay.
It's like enable delete prevention is there in EC2 and other services, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Similar to that. Uh, Questions? Yeah. So S3 is a bit lengthier topic, and when you are working one by one, then you will be able to check the options why these are used, and cross configuration. I guess this is. Yeah. So this cross-origin resource sharing, this is majorly used when you need to provide access to different domains to bucket. So, for example, you have an website which have multiple domains inside there. So for example, AWS itself, I mean not AWS, like Amazon. So under Amazon, you have different departments, right? Like multiple departments are there. So if you want one department to access another department data, so then you will be able to use these options. Okay. So I never use this. You can try if you want to play around with that. Next thing is management. Let's try and complete this today, about S3, so that we can discuss other options tomorrow. Okay. So life cycle means, see, this life cycle is mainly used. Say for example, you have a data which is there in S3. So after 1 month, it should move to standard IA. After 30 days, again it should move to Glacier. From Glacier, after 10 years, it should be permanently deleted. So this process I don't want to do manually, right? So in order to automate that one, this life cycle will help you. So here you need to create rules. So let me create like 30-day move to Glacier rule. Okay. So after 30 days, you need to move the data to Glacier. This is what you wanted to do. And is it scope means, so for example, you want to move complete bucket data, or you want to move only partial data, so that you can control using this one. So, you can give the tags here. So let me select all the objects in the bucket. Transition. So if you enable versioning here, right? So then either you want to move the current version, or you want to move the previous versions which is taken. So that is the option here. And current version. So how many days after? So let's say 30 days after the object creation, means once the data is kept in the bucket after that 30 days. Then clean up in expiration, transition, add transition. Yep, we discussed right, standard 1A and one zone 1A. So initially it will be in standard S3. Let's our data which we have kept now. That's why that option is not here. So after 30 days, I want to move to one zone A. Okay, means one availability zone will be there, and only one copy will be there. At max, one copy will be there. And after 30 days, from here again I want to move to Glacier, means I can add one more transition here. And now if you see here, this is disabled, this is disabled, this is disabled, because the already the data is in one zone 1A. Now you can either move to Glacier data or Glacier deep archive data. So here I will give a rule like after 90 days, after 90 days, say after initial 30 days, I will move to one zone A. In one zone I will keep for 90 days. After 90 days, I will move to Glacier here. Acknowledge. See, for Glacier, normally small data will be not pushed, since we have very less data. So that's the warning here. So now even after Glacier, if you want to push to Glacier deep archive after 10 years, right? So you give here 3650 and add transition. Go here and select deep archive. So from deep archive, you can keep this many dates and you can delete it. So clean up. Enter integer value that is equivalent to 374 days of object creation. Okay. So this life cycle here, the value you need to give the total value, because 30 days we have given for that, 3650 days we have given for that, and 90 days we have given that, right? Sum of all the days. This is the total. So this is the rule. So you are saving the rule. Now what will happen? So this bucket, whatever we are having the website, right? This website, after 90 days, it will move to 1A, one zone 1A, one zone 1A. It will move after 30 days. Now after 90 days, from one zone 1A, it will be moved to Glacier. Okay. From Glacier, after 10 years, it will move to Glacier Deep Archive. Okay. From Deep Archive, it will be deleted if I don't do any action. So this is the life cycle, but you are not doing anything manually. You already configured and kept here. So now everything will be done automatically by this lifecycle. That's why you will use this lifecycle management. Clear here?
So Harish, it is applied to whole bucket only, or we can apply it to part of the bucket as well?
That's what I told, right? So if you want to apply only to part of bucket, you can limit, you need to select this option. Since we selected this option while creating, it will be applied for entire bucket.
Okay.
And also the charges, Harish, at any stage, suppose it has been moved to a particular type of storage, it will be applied based on that, right?
Yeah, the billing will be automatically adjusted for this one. That's the reason, right? We are creating lifecycle because of saving the billing only. We are going for this option.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
If we keep everything in a standard one, the
Then retrieval will be expensive.
right. Then if one zone, the bill will be reduced. If glacier, the bill will be still reduced like that.
Yeah.
So let us see. Here you can see the comparison between. They changed the user interface recently. Yeah, if you see here, standard S3 rate is this one. This is the cost, and intelligent tiering also will be the same cost. And infrequent access, if you're not accessing frequently, means which you pushed after 30 days, right? That will cost is reduced. See, and one zone access means the cost is still same for infrequent and one zone. And if you see the glacier, they are telling to see below. So glacier cost is very cheap. Yeah, here it is there 0.03. Initially it was 0.004. Not sure if they have revised the cost. See, these costs will be there zone wise also. So based on the which zone we are storing our bucket, based on that also the cost would be there. The best way is you can check in AWS calculator. So if you see here, standard glacier will be 0.01, and if you move to bulk storage, right, 0.0025, and deep archive, it's no cost, but while retrieving, they will charge you. Retrieving very slow. So for example, if you want to retrieve 100 GB, it will take around 48 hours to retrieve this 100 GB, but you cannot wait for 2 days, right? So that's why they have some services like to fast data fast and all. So you can use that services, they'll charge for those services. So this is how.
What is the data scanned?
Data?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
Data?
There is a heading here like data scanned, like data returned you pricing.
Data scanned. Okay, so this is the data which is used, right, inside this one. This is data returned. This data storage wise. Scanned means storage, right? So I guess it is storage. Let me understand. Where's the versions? It is storage only as per my. Let me confirm. Pulls the data, need to, yeah, pulling the data. Returned or scanned, S3 pulls the data, you need to remove smaller data just to perform.
So is the both of the cost,
yeah, two costs will be there. So whenever you're trying to access, two costs will be there. One is the cost which is stored inside that S3. See, S3 will allow you from external internet when you're keeping the data, you can keep for free. But while retrieving, you need to charge. But for storing also, they are charging you, right? That's the one. So scanned is nothing but storing one. I will confirm you tomorrow if it is wrong. But for now,
Or Harish, I mean, not sure when actually you were showing that detail on that page. somehow, it's my understanding from that. It feels that because saying that, okay, for the charge for scanning, let's say if you are actually retrieving some data based on some query, and the query is actually maybe scanning some data, but it will be retrieving the
No, no,
subset of
no,
the
no,
data,
no, no, no. That's
right? No.
no, no. That's a wrong understanding, I guess. Okay, let me
Okay.
confirm this one. So there are two billings. One is, so to push the data, transferring charges will be not there from internet. It is free of cost. That is for sure. But for retrieving, yes, there is a cost for retrieving data, and for storing the data is nothing but the scanned cost. That's my understanding. If it's wrong, I will confirm you tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. So. So any queries in lifecycle management?
So Harish, I have a doubt. Like I don't know how far it is correct.
Yeah.
For example, I have automated a systems like a file storing in S3. Like as you said, after 30 days after to one zone 1A something like that.
Yeah.
So this is for storing purpose. Whereas while retrieving, so when I'm searching after 31st or 35th day, then I should not be searching in S3, right? I should be searching in one zone 1A something like that. Is it?
See, your bucket will be like this only. Okay, whatever you are seeing the buckets here. Let me open. So your buckets will be like this, but in
Yeah.
backend the storage will be different. That's what it is meant. So but you'll be still able to see here. So if it is in polity, right, so it will be available here. So but while retrieving, right, it will take time. If it is in glacier and all, it will take some time for you to pull the data. That in background, these are the other services what they are storing, because you're not frequently accessed, right? You will be, once you push the data, it will be too much time. So but if you want to access the data, you can directly come here only and you can access those data here.
Okay. You mean to say the object exists with the URL
Yeah.
which we had before?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
is there any retention kind of thing here?
The retention
Like
you will, yeah, in here only will manage, right? After some, you want to retain this, say we retain here for 10 plus years, and again this additional
okay.
days. So after that, it will automatically expire the data. So it will be deleted.
Okay.
So no return. So whatever you want to control, you need to control here. The retention and all will be in your hands based on the configuration what you're doing here. That will be
So if I want to delete directly from a S3 bucket,
directly
like
select the bucket and delete the bucket. Simple. I
if
will
I
show
want to
you
mention
after
some
discussing all these
references,
options. I will show you how to delete.
yeah, and I'm not asking like
Yeah.
manually deleting.
No, once you delete it, then there is no retention. If you are not enabling versioning or something like that, then you cannot recover that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So next is replication. Replication means replicating one bucket of data to another bucket. Or right, bucket can be created in any regions. So now we have created in Ohio region one bucket. You can create one bucket in Mumbai region also. Now your on-site team is sitting here and your application logs are pushed to this one. And if you want to if your offshore team is sitting in Mumbai, so they want to access this data inside this bucket, the speed will be a bit less, right? Because of this, the S3 bucket is stored in Ohio region. So for that, what we will do is we will replicate the buckets. Means whatever this data is coming inside bucket, automatically the data will be available here. It will be very fast. It is asynchronous only, but still it is very fast. So you can try this one. It is a very self-explanatory. You can just add a rule and select which bucket you want to replicate. Select the destination bucket in step 2 and configure rules. Either you want to replicate it immediately, you want to give a delay, or retention policies also there. You can enable that and you can review that. Now, once you add one file in bucket 1, check whether that file is automatically visible in bucket 2 or not. So that is the replication. Okay. Analytics. So analytics is like what exactly is happened in this bucket, how many times you committed, how many times you read the file, what is the storage, where exactly you have stored, and all will be added here. So so for example, it is in 1A storage, right? If you want to bring back to S3 standard storage, you can bring back, uh, and also this is used only whenever the heavy data is available. Then you will be confused to move either to standard 1A or this will be automatic. So this will tell, once you upload the data, it will automatically analyze everything and tell what type of storage you need to keep. Either you need to keep in S3 storage data, I mean S3 standard, or you need to keep in 1A, or you need to keep in Glacier. If you upload your data here, that will suggest you in which type of storage you need to do. That's more the use of analytics. Okay. And metrics, metrics we have seen yesterday, right? Metrics will show who all are accessing the data, data transfers, how much data transfer has been done, how many KBs, how many MBs, and shows who will access the data. So this you can configure to CloudWatch logs also. Inventory will show you what files are there and what type of files are there. Even I didn't use this much. Whenever you want to know what type of files users need to be there, this inventory will do that. This is something like AI one. You will know, right, what type of files you are going to store. Like log files means log files, other files. That's what inventory is. See, S3 you need to concentrate morely on. Under management, you have replication and lifecycle. Okay, these two are important. Under permissions, bucket policy, this is little important. So you try practicing multiple things like read, write, only write, like that. And under versioning, properties, versioning is, make sure you are familiar with what is versioning. See, these are general things, general topics. Just they have kept this one for their storage ones. So versioning, we use Git SVN in our day-to-day IT life, right? And access logs is nothing but your server logs. The static web hosting is also a bit important. And yeah, so these three. Under permissions, you have bucket policy. Under management, lifecycle, and replication. These two are important. So try, when you're trying to practice, at least to cover these things. Remaining things, whenever you're working, you'll be learned automatically. So questions? Okay, how to delete a bucket, right? Go to your buckets. So for example, you want to delete this bucket. So you can click on delete. Now you need to write your bucket name. So this is the bucket name of your bucket. If you write this bucket name only, it will be deleted. Now, if you are not maintaining versioning and any other thing, you will be not able to recover this. Even if you maintain versioning, you will be not able to recover bucket. Versioning will work inside the bucket, not outside the bucket, right? After creating the bucket, for the files and folders, versioning will be working. Okay. So that's the reason whenever you are deleting any bucket, they will ask you to write the bucket name here, so that you will be accidentally you will be not delete, right? When you are intentional only, you will be copy pasting the bucket name here, then you are confirming it to delete. Okay. So questions? Okay. So if you see here, S3 is done, and in Elastic file system, as I told, right, it is majorly used for shared for Linux, and this for Windows. Glacier will see. See, it is also self-explanatory. You can try on your own. If you have any issues, you can ask me. Then we'll discuss about that. So you can create a vault, and we can push under this vault. That is the data. It's very like a user-friendly form. Fill the form and you can update. Only thing is you need to understand what type of data you're pushing and what are the policies, and what is your exact requirement. How many days you need to keep in Glacier. Then you need to send to Deep Glacier and all. Yeah, that's about today. Tomorrow we'll see storage gateway, AWS backup, and S3 Glacier. These three we'll see tomorrow. Okay. Then we'll start with databases, RDS, and one day we'll take it for RDS. One day we'll go for Redshift. Then one day DynamoDB. If I tell directly what is DynamoDB, DynamoDB is a AWS DB. So if I directly explain about this, you might not get the the context properly. So what I'll do is DynamoDB, AWS Lambda, and API Gateway. I'll integrate these three services, and I will try to create like application and show you one use case. Okay. In that way, we will be creating Lambda expressions as well as the API Gateway. So we'll be doing practical RDS, DynamoDB, and Redshift we will do. And the remaining things I'll give overview. See, you no need to do practical for Redshift as well, but because many of them are started using recently, whoever having data warehouse requirements and for quicker accessing and doing analytics. The other things you just need to know for what purposes this database are used. I'll give overview for every other database. Once we complete S3 in database, then we will see about guard duty, WAF and Shield, AWS Firewall Manager. And after this, we'll see IAM. So we are almost completing all the topics. After that, we'll have only ECS, Elastic Container Systems. Then I will see how to prepare for certifications, what are the daily operations which are used in day to day. So we'll try to complete every day. We'll try to do for 1.5 hours, and we'll try to complete by September 6th. Okay.